Hello, everyone. This is Heather with Magnificent Mommas and Magnificent Authors podcast. We are joined here today with author Felicity Fox. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hello. I'm Felicity, and I started as an editor a little over 25 years ago. And then I was professionally published, and I grew into the writing side as well. And then I am now an independent publisher as well. And I also do social media for people, their covers, their formatting, whether they publish through me or not. So kind of do the whole process of a book from an idea. I also am certified in ghostwriting. So for example, if someone has a book that they want to write about their adventures in the wild, the last time they went camping, but they maybe wrote it or don't want to write it or all the above, I can basically take their concept from an idea to a full book that's in Amazon or Barnes & Noble, etc. So I'm kind of the whole process.
That is awesome. It sounds like it sure keeps you busy.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think the best part is I'm a stay-at-home mom. My kids are in school now. My youngest just started school, but I can work from anywhere. We just relocated from New York to Florida. I live near Disney World and I work part-time at Disney. And this is perfect because I can work from any location, even when we're traveling.
That's awesome. Congrats on that. That's great.
Oh, thank you. I'm very blessed.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your published work?
Absolutely. So back when I was little, I used to have this idea about holidays. And my birthday's in October. And so between Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas and the other holidays, but especially those three, kind of was like a disappointment on December 26th because all of a sudden the rush of the holidays was gone. And I lived in New York where it was very snowy and gloomy and I was kind of bummed. And I was thinking, well, if Santa's at the North Pole, where do all the decorations go and things like that? So I came up with this idea as a child. And then when I was in my 20s, I was traveling with my husband on some business trips and kind of tweaking this idea that I had as a kid. And I developed it and I was professionally published. And amazingly, this production company where I moved from New York had heard my book and they actually made it into a musical. And it'll be 10 years this May, 2024. It was put on stage in musical form in my little area where I lived. So it was May of 2014. And I was professionally published in 2019. And so it's a book it's called Where the Holidays Go, and it's a children's book, fully illustrated. My second book was based on a dream my dad had. It was a young adult novel, and I'm working on the sequel now, but it's very faith-based, spiritual-based, so it's safe for all types of ages. And that's one thing with all my books is I never have anything that couldn't be written by an adult or a child. And I'm working on a sequel to that. And then I have another one coming out where I'm from. Originally, it's called the Carousel Capital of the World. If you were to Google it, you're going to see the Tri-City area, which is Binghamton, New York, Endicott, New York, Johnson City, New York. And that book's coming out in May. Long story short, when my book became a musical, the people who sort of do the visitor center there had contacted me around that time and said, hey, there's never been a book done. So I did it. And it's a rhyming fashion, fully illustrated, and that'll be out in May of this year. And then I have two coming in the fall as well.
Wow. Sounds like you've been busy for sure.
Yes, I managed to keep myself busy all day long. You know us moms.
Oh, yeah. I homeschool my 15-year-old and then run my business, and putting in an 18-hour day is no surprise to anyone in my household.
And kudos to you. I've always wanted to homeschool my children. I've always wanted to do that. And at the exception of COVID, I did do that because my son is severely asthmatic. So due to the virus, we did keep him home for a year and a half. I think that's wonderful. And that's something I've always wanted to do and I haven't. So I think that's awesome. So God bless you probably more than me because for you to do all that you're doing plus homeschooling. Wow. Good for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is probably the longest stretch. My daughter's been homeschooled for a while. We've gone back and forth to public school just a couple of times just to see, and she's never done good with public school. In kindergarten, actually, her teacher had her two older brothers, and her older brothers are ADHD just like her, and her kindergarten teacher told me in one of those parent-teacher conferences that she didn't have enough time to work with my daughter. And that's kindergarten. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, I'm so sorry you were through that. I would say that somehow it was meant for you to take care of her at home. Kudos to you, because that's something that I think right during COVID, a lot of people found that they couldn't handle all of that. I was very fortunate. My little one was too little, so she wasn't in school yet. But my son was. But he did great. He was very disciplined to do his work. But I had lots of friends who were just like, I give up, can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's phenomenal that you were able to take on that. Sorry that happened, but it seems like it was somehow
Oh, yeah.
part of the process in your life that God intended.
Oh, I agree. And so my daughter, she had been in school not too long before COVID, and we
Mm.
had pulled her out. And then COVID hit like a couple weeks later. And I was so thankful that we had decided to go back to homeschooling, and she's been homeschooling ever since then. But it was so funny because like anytime someone gets sick, she brings it home, and
Oh,
then
of course.
I'm sick after she gets over it, and she's got a real weak immune system. So being home when COVID hit was like one of the biggest relief. And what was really funny, like I was working healthcare at the time as a CNA. I've had COVID to date probably 4 or 5 times now, and she's only gotten it once, which is crazy.
You're kidding.
With as much as she gets everything else, when she was in public school, she only got COVID once. It's insane.
That's insane. We did have it once, ironically, just before we moved to Florida, about a year before. We were in Disney World. We had traveled down, and I'm laughing because I remember we took a picture at the castle for the firework, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden we got home and all four of us got it. But it was a very minor version,
Yeah.
like a cold, like it was nothing severe like it had been. And my son actually, when he got it, he probably had the least amount than all of us, even though he's the one you would think would get it worse.
Yeah.
It didn't really affect him other than like congestion, not his breathing. But that's like the only time, thank you, Lord, that we had it. But I joke because I'm like, well, now we live here, but at the time,
Yeah.
so that's crazy. That's crazy in your sense that of all the things she only got it once. Well, thank God for that. What a blessing.
Yeah.
Holy
I was
cow.
very glad that she only got it once. My husband, he's got an amazing immune system, and he's only had it once. I'm so jealous. I'm like, yeah, I worked around healthcare, but like the times I got it, like I got it once when COVID was real popular and like everyone was getting it in healthcare. I could work a COVID unit and not get COVID, whether I'm practicing the proper PPE or not, which is, the face mask, the gown, everything.
Oh, sure.
Then like I'll randomly get it, from going to the grocery store or something like that.
Go figure. And my husband's like yours. He's never sick. I'm the one who washes my hands, bleaches everything, antibacterial wipe, men in general. And then my husband and your husband seem like they don't get anything. Go
Yeah.
figure. Oh, no.
I'm always jealous of his immune system. It is hilarious. So, do you want to tell me a little more about your books coming out in May and then this fall, you said?
Yeah, so the carousel capital of the world. So kind of a lengthy story, which I certainly can basically sum it up to say this, that there was a shoe factory where I'm from in Endicott, New York called EJ Shoes, which meant Endicott Johnson Shoe Factory. And it was back prominent almost 100 years ago. There was basically a few brothers, and they came in and people literally came, this is a true story, come to Ellis Island, didn't speak English, but they would say, which way EJ? Because it was a huge company in the country. So it employed so many. And what they did is they built these houses called EJ houses. And actually, ironically, two of my brothers still live in EJ houses, but since then they've been completely remodeled, like gutted and redone. But the layout's pretty identical. And so they built all these homes for all these people to work in, and they had these parks, playgrounds, pools, fields, and they brought these carousels in. And what they ask is that the mostly men who worked were just honest and came to work, did their job well, and they provided these homes for these people. And they brought 6 carousels to the area. And to this day, they're free to ride. They're open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then Halloween, Christmas time, they open for select weekends. And they do whole events around them like hot cocoa and singing and that kind of thing. They're really special because I relate it to down here in Disney. Whenever we go to Disney World, my daughter always, without fail, has to ride the carousel, the merry-go-round at Magic Kingdom. It's funny because hundreds of people you will see lined up for that. And it's like, go on like Space Mountain or Haunted Mansion or something. But these kids love that. And I think how blessed are we that in our area, they're free to ride. And they are very updated. They keep, they have crews that come and make sure that they're freshly painted and the music still plays and all that. And they're free. And so it's a magical experience and it's free. And the history behind it is phenomenal. And there's a whole building called the Endicott Visitor Center, which is dedicated and has a museum to it, the benefactors, and the schools in the area, George F. Johnson, Charles F. Johnson, T.J. Watson, these are all connected to the history in it. So I wrote the story. I literally took flyers about it. I know this is ironic, but the one on Oak Hill Avenue in Endicott was behind my house. You could see it from my backyard, and I never wrote it. And then basically the lady gave me flyers and said, here's some information. I read them all, and I easily rhyme. So I came up with a rhyming story about it, and it's all true. Of course, I weaved a little bit of fantasy into it, but just to make it a little fun for the kids. But it's a rhyming true story. And I'm proud to bring it to the area because our area is kind of small. You know, we had a mall that closed, and even though I don't live there anymore, it's just kind of a small area that it has some shopping centers, but it just doesn't offer a ton. Whereas the carousels are consistent and have always been there and always will be. And so I just think this is beautiful. And I'm excited that I'm able to bring that to the community, and I'm grateful for my gift of rhyming so I can make it happen. And then I chose May because I will be in New York in June for my goddaughter's graduation. So I'm doing some signings and things like that around that time. So that's why I chose that month. And then the stories in the fall, I have one coming out. The first one, it makes me chuckle. So I think every mom, every person in the world, whether you're a mom or not, will understand. When you do laundry, you always lose socks, always,
Oh, yes.
without fail, right?
Yeah.
And you never find them. And that's the other thing. Well, so I came up with this idea because when we moved into our house, there's a cupboard above the fridge. Now, listen, every house in the world has these little tiny cupboards above the fridge. No one knows what's in there. You can't reach. They're tiny. So I came up with this concept that the socks and the missing Tupperware and lids, you know how when you always go
Oh, yeah.
the leftovers, you can never find the match. They basically join together to go live. They're kind of rebelling, and they go to live above the cupboard above the fridge. And so it's kind of a cute little story I came up with. I'm working on the illustrations now. And then the next one is the sequel to the holiday book I was talking about. I have 4 stories in that series, but the second one I'm finally putting out in the fall. I'm aiming more for Christmas time for that one, but the socks and lids ones would be in September or October.
Awesome. That sounds exciting for sure.
Thank you.
I know the holidays are always special, and I think how you came up with the socks and the lids like disappearing because everyone can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how tall you are, but I'm like 5'4", 5'5", so I can never reach up there in the
No.
cabinet. My daughter is actually taller than me now, and like she's the second tallest person in my house. My husband's like a couple inches taller than her,
Yep.
and like if I need something out of the cabinet, I have to, hey, can you get me this, or can you look and see if we got this? Mom, why can't you do it? Because I'm too short.
Well, I am 5'3", and there is nothing I can tell you. There's nothing because I got a step ladder when I'm writing this book, and look, there's nothing in there. So I thought, well, it'd be fun to put like a roll of Scotch tape and maybe the directions for the refrigerator. We bought the furniture. We bought the house or when we got the house. So it's not, there's no directions up there, but I came up with kind of a few fun little things that we'll see in the book that, you know, that I put up there. But my
You don't want to say because you don't want to give away the spoilers.
exactly. And I'm also working on the sequel for the young adult mystery book. I started working on it last summer. My dad passed away last summer, and I started working on it just before he passed because it was all the whole series is based on a dream he had. And so it's an emotional process to write it, even though it's fictional. Just reminds me of my dad, but it's also, you know, therapeutic. So I am still working on that, and I'm aiming for next summer for that one as well.
That's awesome. Are you publishing them through your publishing company or?
Yes. So my first 2 books were published through a different company, but they actually just closed, and went and branched into a different direction. So basically working there about 6 years, I learned a lot, a lot. But they did not do their formatting for a book. So if someone writes a book, right? So maybe you write it in a Word doc in Microsoft Word, but like, how do you get it into the form it has to be in? So you have to, you have to, for children's books, you can use like Adobe, you can use Photoshop. For a novel, you can use even Amazon has one called Atticus. There's all kinds of programs. There's draft to digital, there's all kinds. And so basically it's formatting. And this company I worked for didn't actually, and not only did I work for them, but they published me. They did not do their own formatting. They actually outsourced it. So I learned how to format because that was the most costly part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Was someone to do that. And then when there's things to fix or you don't like the way some things align. So I learned to do that. So I've been doing that for years. So, I mean, I also do covers for people too. Sometimes people just want to change the cover. Sometimes they've gone to the bestseller list, and all of a sudden somebody wants to endorse them and it's a big name. So then they just want to change the cover. I also just do formatting as well. Some people want to self-publish, or they have, for example, this company had a couple people that were just didn't want to pay the formatting prices for
Yeah.
the outsource. So they do it significantly cheaper. And I'm also kind of I don't know how to put it. Someone put it like this. They said I'm a one-stop shop because I can do the whole package. So there's wonderful, wonderful outlets like Fiverr, wonderful. It's just that one thing that people have found, what they've told me, is when they're outsourcing to something like Fiverr, they're using one person for a cover, one person for the interior, and then they don't know the process beyond that. So
Yeah.
I do the entire process, like from the very start, from either you have the book and I'll edit it or I'll write it for you or whatever, to publishing it so that it's on Barnes and Noble online. So I do absolutely every step. And I'm also, I don't take on that which I can't devote myself to, because one of the things that through the years people were finding is that it was hard to get answers sometimes in a timely manner,
Mhm.
because coaching would be certain days a week or something. So for me, I put a guarantee, within 24 hours, I'll return your email, or, and I open myself up to certain times, like twice a week, meeting with people if they want. Like, that's the number one compliment I got, is that I maintain people's voice and that I'm there for them. And, fortunately, I do know the whole process. And generally, because I've been doing it for so long, usually I can find the answer out. Things pop up all the time in publishing. It is vast. There's
Yeah.
numerous distributors. There's all kinds of just little tactical things that you don't realize when you're formatting that happens, or design changes, or it's just, I can't even explain it to you. It's so vast. However, generally speaking, I can usually figure out why something's not working or how to tweak it and make it so it will work. Sometimes, like even ebooks, if they're a children's book, a certain distributor needs them to be flowable versus not flowable, which is another concept in itself. But all these things I'm saying, basically, I can do the whole package,
That's
from front to
awesome.
beginning, hardcover, softcover, ebooks, all forms. And again, both publishing, or just formatting, or just editing, or just covers, the whole, or all of the above.
That's exciting. And I mean, the skill set alone,
Oh, thank
I
you.
deal with people, in the author community all the time looking for services like that, and some of them are just outrageously, priced, and some don't know the process of going about getting published, marketing afterwards, promoting afterwards, and
Yes.
it's nice when somebody's willing to help them, and they don't have to go, like you said, to multiple different places, their book published.
Exactly. And then social media, like I know how to do Amazon keywords, like I know how to do all that stuff, but sometimes you don't need to. Honestly, one thing I would give a tip to listeners is, if you're marketing, honestly, and is annoying to people and annoys people when I say this, but honestly, presence online is the best thing you can do, even if you don't know what you're doing. So if you go on anyone's social media, like say you have a social media you don't really use, but maybe you're clicking it because you're bored and you're waiting for your water to boil to make your kids mac and cheese, and you're
Mhm.
scrolling. If you see people consistently, maybe you don't know who they are. Maybe you just follow them because you clicked follow, and it is Jane Doe. And all of a sudden she's posting a picture. She has bright blonde hair, and she's posting a picture of walking with her dogs. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden she has another dog. I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, but she's consistently there. So you may not know who she is or what she represents, but you always see her with a dog. So then if you click on her, you find out that, oh, she is a groomer, let's say. Just the consistency of somebody posting is what's required, even if you don't know what you're doing. Even if you write books and you don't know how to market it, no matter what the genre is. By the way, I do all the genres. I've done medical books. I've done children's books. I've done true stories. I've done the whole thing. And so even if you don't know what you're doing, your presence is what is important. So as people are scrolling, they're seeing you, they're seeing your name. And for me, I don't particularly like to be on camera, but I've done it a little more because I know that's important. But if I'm posting about my books consistently, or putting my brand new puppy on there, just people are seeing my name and affiliating, knowing they're going to see something with me. So that's the biggest tip I would give and I certainly do big packages when it comes to social media, but that is the biggest tip I would say is if you want to sort of get started and don't know where to start there. Just start posting every day.
Make an author page,
Oh
maybe.
my gosh, yes. I have a whole website, which I'm glad to give you, that has all that stuff. And then actually, when you go on like Amazon, you're going to create an author page on there. So what that means is that it's kind of like Facebook. So if someone clicks you as an author, it has your other books and a little bio about you and pictures that you have book signings and stuff like that. But all these things are so important.
I agree. Do you know Kindle Vella?
Yes.
They let the authors have an author page on that as well. Do you know?
From what I've heard, yes, but I've never actually like looked myself. So my book, like my first book, for example, the holiday book is like Kindle. So it's KDP is how it goes on. So if you go
Yeah.
on Amazon and you were to search for any book, let's say my book, it'll show you the ebook version. It'll show you the price for the paperback, the hardcover, and the ebook. And if you click my name right there or the Kindle version, you're going to see my bio. So I
Yeah.
do believe you can, but I'm just saying I haven't personally clicked on that to see. Same with like the distributors. There's a couple of distributors that will get your book to 39,000 different places like Barnes and Noble. Now my book personally is in Barnes and Noble where I'm from because I did a book signing there. So they have some books. You have to develop relationships with people because publishing these days is not at all like it used to be. So now people can do it more self-publishing. It's far easier in that sense, thankfully. The process is far different. And so to get in those stores is a little more challenging, but it doesn't have to be. Start small,
Yeah.
start with the maybe local stores that'll carry you and then do book signings, develop relationships, people that you know, vendor fairs, things like that, and really get you out there. One thing with my company that I do is our groups of like how, marketing. So if you're doing a book about mental health, well, then you're going to, look for the magazines, the other people that are like you who do books about mental health or mental health specialists, advocates, things like that. And you're going to follow them and comment and like, and groups like that. So maybe
Yeah.
magazines, that kind of thing. And so a lot of it is more simplistic than people think. It's just tedious. And this is where people sometimes, almost always get overwhelmed and then they try to find help. But I just had something the other day where someone was going to do for $600 a month. They were like, not for me, I was just researching, and it was like, oh, I'll do your social media for 1 month for $600. And it's okay, no. I don't
And
know.
that's usually like what, one platform, two platforms,
Exactly.
the main
I
one.
believe it was like, what was the 10? There was something with 10, I think it was 10 changes or something like that, like unlimited changes. But it might have been three posted. It might have been three posts a day, like one to each different platform. But I mean, my prices are not anywhere near there. But I mean, you also have to use hashtags, and even if you don't do SEO techniques, you have to, hashtags are important. So,
Oh
if
yeah.
your book's about holidays, I can write holiday book, or this time of year I could write St. Patrick's Day book because that was one of my holidays in my books, St.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day. So there's a lot of things that a simple Google search, if people have the time, and I understand people don't necessarily have the time. So that's where I come in. It's so important to me. My number one goal is like my faith is honoring the Lord. And I just want people to feel like their vision doesn't have to change. That's so important that I find in the publishing world is traditional publishers and other publishers that I've dealt with they like to edit things in a way that changes people's intention. And
Yeah.
it's not done in a bad way. It's just that they're doing what's best. But for me, I can edit a book and not change a person's voice. I can change things that are still saying what they want to say without it being something completely different. And it's really
Yeah.
important to me. And that's one compliment I get is I managed to do it in a way that maintains their integrity. And so um, it's just very difficult in this world to do traditional publishing. Just as a quick side note, and this is all on my website, but if you do, very complex way of saying they have all the rights.
Yeah.
So if they're going to pay, let's say $10,000 for you, they're going to give you in advance and they get all the rights. So you get like 10% of sales after the $10,000 is paid back and you don't own the rights. So sure, I like your book, but I would like to add a scene here or two. And you're like, that's not what I wanted to really do. And
Yeah.
yeah, well, we're paying for it. And so that's when you publish with me, you maintain full rights, 100% royalties and rights. I don't get any rights and I don't get any royalties. So the
You just
publishing world is
pay
definitely,
upfront cost.
yes. Yep. And I also do, I mean, I like to say this because people get scared, when you see prices, but not only will I might significantly. I mean, like significantly, like I can prove I'm cheaper, but it's also like I like to do payment plans if people want to, because I understand like who has that money
Yeah.
right away. So I generally speaking, I will do the full process, and then before we're ready to actually upload, then I ask for payment, um, because that's only fair. But I don't know of any company, including the company I work for, that did that. They allowed payment plans, but you didn't have access to any of that stuff until you were fully paid.
Yeah,
So
see, we offer payment plans as well with
yes,
our services.
exactly.
And I think that's important because, like you said, so many people out there, they don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for in my business and the part that we do, I feel like, you can tell the people that care about the authors and the books
Yes.
themselves based on what they offer. And when I say that, I mean, like, do they offer payment plans? Do they offer more affordable rates and stuff like that? Because the people that are charging thousands and thousands of dollars for, like, I saw somebody charging like $1,000 something for like a 1 minute reel.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Our reels, and like, no, oh, I know. I also think like it's hard for people because this is somebody's baby that they've
Mhm.
invested, perhaps years. One thing I've noticed working, especially with the company I work for, is a lot of people were coming forth that they were like, they lost their wife to cancer and their son to drug use, and all of a sudden a husband's coming forward and he's speaking, his faith got him through. So he's at a church and he's speaking at church, and someone says, Ed, you should write a book. I'm making this name up. You should write a book. And so he finally pens a book, and it needs a lot of work, but he's
Yeah.
coming forward and he has his vision and his dream. And so he can look at the stats, he can have faith in the company. But I mean, you can look at my website and see hundreds of books that I've done, but it's like, this isn't your book, right? So you're not sure. So it's like, why am I going to give you, I don't know, $1,000 right now when I don't know? Because this isn't my book. This is my dream. And so for
Yeah.
me, I provide for all this, like I'll even generally will give, there's a draft version when I do a formatting for a book. There's a draft version, which means it looks like the PDF of a real book, but they have to approve that before I do the final print version. With print version, that means that it's actually the one that I'm going to upload to Amazon for you, or the client can. It's up to them, and their distributor. So the draft version, usually I let them even have that first before they say, okay, I need to, I don't like the layout or something. And then
Yeah.
before I do the print version, that's when I ask payment. So I go through the whole process. I give them the draft of, covers, 3 different images for the covers they want to use, all the editing, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times I don't even, it depends on the person, of course, but I just think it's important that people see, you could look at this at my website and see all I've done, but let me also show you and prove to you that I'm not.
Yeah.
And then I have countless things on my website that it has other people's websites that they can go on and say here. And then I also have video testimonies people have made without me even asking them to, that I put
Yeah.
on my website as well. So there's a lot to show for the work, but I also understand this is somebody's investment in money. And so don't invest until you know I'm going to do it, So like, I can appreciate that about your business as well.
Yeah.
We're not trying to scam people,
No.
scheme people.
And that's the thing about it too. Like, I'm assuming as you are connected in the author communities, and I can put up a post anytime I put up a post in a Facebook group.
Mhm.
I always get comments. Okay.
Yes.
And majority of the people are really, authors, and they're really thankful for, because I always lead, with my free promotions.
Yes.
Because I want to build up my relationship with the authors before trying to sit here and be like, hey, I've got a book launch package. You should totally check it out. It's much better to foster those relationships.
Yes.
Now, that being said, you do get these random grouchy people in these groups that think just because you're offering something for free that it's a scam.
Oh, yeah.
But now you can go on my website, you can go on my Facebook page, you can go on almost any social media platform and see us.
Mm-hmm.
You can see reviews, you can see our podcast, sit here and watch our podcast on YouTube and Spotify. So I think if anyone spends 5 minutes of their time before commenting on a post like that, you can see that somebody is, legit, especially like me, because yes, there are good people in the world that really want to help others. And we're so surrounded by so much negativity in this world that we forget about the goodness sometimes.
Oh, 100%. Actually, something I recently did for a client was they reach out to me. They heard of me and reach out and as they were asking about social media and they didn't really want to, they didn't know what they wanted yet. And so I suggested for them that what I would do is one post once a day for a month, free for them as part of the package. And in doing so, just one post a day. So in this case, it was like a motivational, not a verse. They didn't want that. They wanted like a motivational kind of quote. And I went through and I picked a bunch and they got to pick which ones they liked. And then I did the graphic for them. They loved it. And that's what we did. And I provided that with hashtags for them and something like that, which I offered for free because I wanted them to see, okay, here's what you could do. And then from there, if clients want to build on it, maybe they want to do multiple platforms. Maybe they want a different look each day or something. Those, I can understand why people charge for that. But I also know that
Yep.
sometimes you don't need to go that far. It's
Yeah.
not like it was pre-COVID. Like,
Yeah.
so
Sometimes people don't have the time though, and that's something
yes,
to be addressed.
exactly.
Because let me tell you, with everything that I do and easily putting in, 18-hour days,
Yeah.
I still have a team. Like
Yeah.
I've got like 4 or 5 people on my team,
That's
and
awesome.
two of them alone handle my social medias.
Yeah.
So, content is normally getting posted every single day.
Mm-hmm.
My inboxes are getting responded to, in a very timely manner. Having that response time is so important compared to saying you sent someone a message and then not getting a message back for a month. Now, I'm not saying, that doesn't happen on occasion. Stuff can go wrong.
Yeah, you're a human.
Nine,
Yeah.
98% of the time, you're going to get good response times. And that's important when you're running a business.
Oh, 100%. In fact, my mom was just visiting and unfortunately she got rather ill while she was here. And there was one project that I contacted someone about, and it wasn't due actually till today. But I had said to them, I really hope to get through this early because I generally give deadlines and then I pretty much always beat them. I pride myself in that. And in this case, I still had it to the client early. But life happens. And so, and I had contacted them and was very honest with them, but I still had it to them early and they were like so grateful.
Let me tell you, okay, my launch for the podcast was March 1st. Right before that, my team was only made up of 2 people. It quickly changed, okay, but my assistant, she went on vacation and then she ended up sick for
No.
a week and a half afterwards.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that same day that she went on vacation, my social media manager had come to me and told me she had taken on too much.
Oh no.
So here I am struggling to get everything off the ground and launch the podcast as scheduled. I swear, I found some people that immediately wanted to work for me and was able to start immediately. And they have been the best group of people.
Yay.
It had to be, the right time, the right people. And they were just such a godsend. I can't even put into words how awesome they have been.
I'm really, really fortunate to say that I have an assistant who helps me as needed. And in that case, I had them help me with one part of the project. Generally, they're sort of just as I need it. Man, I tell you what, my girl was, could have just taken her to dinner. I was so grateful for her. And it just sometimes, again, because we're moms too, and that's our most important job. But we also, like me, personally, I'm immaculate and I like to keep my house in good order. And, I am married in almost 17 years and, I got a family, I got children, but I also have a husband. And so, I got to manage relationships and stuff. So that assistant, having my mom here in L, but the assistant was like my savior that week, oh.
Yep.
Yeah. And some stuff we can't do, like the editing I have to do. That's not something. So the assistant more is little things like, can you tweak this cover for me? Can you go in Photoshop? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the editing, some of the stuff is only something I can do. So I am looking in the future to hire a few more people to help me as my business grows. Fortunately now I'm profoundly busy, but I'm able to manage it with my assistant.
Yeah.
But as it grows.
That's awesome. Yeah, I get it as it grows completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I've got 2 girls that handle our socials, and I reached out to one last night because she's on a different time zone than me. Yep. And I was like, I know this is kind of not what you do, but is there any way you can help me get through these emails? Because we got backed up on them. And like I said, I don't like my emails sitting. And she's like, yeah, sure, of course I'll help you. And I had faith, you know, in her ability to, because she's been with me enough now. She knows how to respond to stuff. She responds to people on the social media,
Yes.
and I was like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much, because that was stressing me out. And
Yeah.
my day's never done. And all those little tasks,
Oh, yeah.
time adds up.
Oh, 100%. My assistant's also on a different time zone. She's amazing.
Do you want to talk any more about your book's writing process, advice to aspiring writers, anything like that?
Well, I would say my advice is just to write. So people tend to overthink and they want to have a perfect out of the gate, and that's just not going to happen. And you're going to come ideas. Sometimes you're laying down and you have an idea. One day I was sitting in the parking lot when my daughter was in pre-K and I had an idea. So I stopped real fast. I was waiting for it to dismiss and I like text myself the idea. So things are going to happen. And so just write. As far as the process is concerned, no one has to take what I'm saying or what anyone else is saying as truth. They can certainly Google it themselves. But my site is thefelicityfoxhouse.com. If nothing else, I have videos and ideas on there so people can see what's the editing process like, what's it like to publish in format, that kind of thing. And I make the videos because people don't know where to begin. They might have an idea about writing a book about something they've been through and what's worked for them, but how do you do it? And so, you have all these sort of ads now that are popping up that are saying, oh, make money with your ebook, but that's not how it works. And that's not, the process is extensive. And so to at least kind of give people an idea. But I would say check out my site. If people are looking for ideas, I will gladly email with, I'm not going to charge for time. If you have questions. So one thing people have been recommended to me, which I'm so grateful for, and they'll usually either email me or the person will come to me and say, hey, I have a friend. Is it all right if I give them your number? Feel free to email, because I just think that sometimes people just have questions. They're not ready to, and so I would say, please feel free. I'm sure my information will be on the podcast, but thefelicityfoxhouse.com. And
we will have it on our website as well.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. So just check it out. Navigate around there, just explore and see what you see. And there's other sites on there too of people that have used me. And so I just think when it comes to writing and your idea, just get it out there. Sometimes it's therapeutic and you don't even want to publish it. You just need to get it out. And so I would say just hit the idea, journal if you're writing, that kind of thing. But beyond that, I do the whole process and can't quite put into words what it's like for someone who has something and they really want to put it out there, but they don't know where to go. They don't know really, maybe they don't know editing or they don't know publishing. They don't know any part of the package. So if somebody's coming at this and they're listening and they just happen to click on your podcast and they don't know, but they're like, hey, I've been thinking of this book for years. And so I'm a starting point for them. I can at least answer questions without charging time.
So we want to thank you again and thank all our listeners for being here with us.
Thank you so much.